Two 5.3 V8s, same year, same miles. One followed GM's manual to the letter. The other followed a mechanic's playbook that breaks 10 of GM's official recommendations. At 200,000 miles, one needs an engine. The other runs like new. 10 engine tricks GM says not to do. Every mechanic does them anyway. Here's why. Number 10. Running 5W30 instead of 0W20 on a high-mileage 5.3 or 6.2. GM specs 0W20 on every Gen 5 V8 that rolled off the line. It's stamped on the oil cap. It's what the dealer pours in without asking. And on a brand new engine with factory tolerances, it works fine. Thin oil flows fast, the fuel economy numbers look good on the window sticker, and GM hits their corporate average targets. After 100,000 miles, the equation changes. Bearing clearances have opened up from normal wear. Piston ring gaps are wider. The oil pump is working harder to maintain pressure with thinner fluid. Mechanics switch to 5W30 because the thicker oil maintains a stronger film on worn surfaces, fills those opened clearances better, and, critically, reduces the oil consumption that plagues high-mileage AFM engines. Owners burning a quart every 2,000 miles on 0W20 often drop to a quart every 4,000 on 5W30. That's not anecdotal. Oil analysis data from high-mileage GMV8s consistently shows lower wear metals on 5W30 after 100,000 miles. Here's a detail most people don't know. GM specs 5W30 for the same engines sold outside the United States. Same block. Same internals, different oil recommendation based on different emissions testing standards. The engine doesn't know what country it's in. And here's how you know when to switch. If you're adding oil between changes, if your dipstick shows low at 3,000 miles, or if oil analysis shows elevated wear metals on 0W20, that's the engine telling you it wants thicker protection. GM recommends 020 for the EPA sticker. Mechanics run 530 for the engine. After 100,000 miles, the engine doesn't care about the EPA. Number 9 works hand in hand with this, because the right oil in the wrong interval still fails. Number 9, cutting the oil change interval to 3,000 to 5,000 miles. GM's Oil Life Monitor calculates remaining life based on RPM, temperature, and load. It'll push you to 7,500, sometimes 10,000 miles between changes. On paper, modern full synthetics can handle that. In a GM V8 with AFM or DFM, the math falls apart. These engines consume oil between changes. A quart every 2,000 miles is GM's own definition of normal. At 50% oil life, you could be a quart and a half low. The oil that's left is carrying the full thermal and mechanical load of 8 cylinders, some of which are cycling on and off hundreds of times per drive. The additive package, the friction modifiers that protect lifter surfaces, the detergents that keep passages clean, depletes faster under that stress than the algorithm accounts for. Mechanics change at 3,000 to 5,000 miles because they've cut open filters at 7,000 miles on AFM engines and seen what the oil looked like. Dark, thin, sheared. The monitor said 40% life remaining. The oil said otherwise. Here's the habit every mechanic follows that most owners skip. Check the dipstick at every fuel stop, not once a month. Every fill-up takes 10 seconds. If you're a quart low at 3,000 miles, you know the interval needs to be shorter or the consumption needs to be addressed. If you're full at 4,000, you know your engine is holding oil well, and 5,000 is safe. The dipstick tells you more than the monitor ever will. The Oil Life Monitor protects GM's warranty math. 3,000 to 5,000 miles protects the engine. Number 8. Using a Wix or Napa Gold filter instead of a Dexos-approved unit. GM says Dexos-approved filters only. The approved list protects GM's certification program and the suppliers who pay for inclusion. Mechanics run Wix 57060 or Napa Gold because the filtration specs meet or exceed Dexos requirements, 99% efficiency at 30 microns, and the bypass valve is calibrated to the correct pressure range for GM V8 oil systems. Here's what most owners don't know. Napa Gold filters are manufactured by WX. Same factory, same media, same construction, different label. A Napa Gold 1042 and a Wix 51042 are physically identical filters. The mechanic who installs one isn't cutting corners. He's buying the same quality without the brand markup. The bigger point, a $10 Wix with proven specs protects the engine better than a $3 no-name with a Dexos sticker and a bypass valve that opens at random pressures. The certification label isn't the protection. The engineering inside the canister is. The filter on the approved list protects the warranty. The filter mechanics choose protects the engine. Stay with me here. Number 7 goes deeper into the engine than an oil filter ever can. Number 7. Adding a catch can to the PCV system. GM's crankcase ventilation system recirculates oil vapor back into the intake. It's designed to reduce emissions. It works for that purpose. But every drop of oily vapor that re-enters the intake coats the throttle body, the intake manifold runners, and, on direct injection engines, the back of the intake valves where no fuel ever washes it off. A catch can sit in the PCV line and intercepts that vapor before it reaches the intake. Baffles inside the can condense the oil out of the air. Clean air continues to the intake. The oil stays trapped. Drop a comment. How many of these 10 are you already doing? Subscribe for more every week. Let's keep going. Pull the drain on a catch can at 5,000 miles on a 5.3 with DFM, and you'll find 1 to 3 ounces of black oil. That's not wear material. That's the vapor your engine was breathing back in every 5,000 miles. For the life of the truck, on an engine without a catch can, that oil is baking onto valve faces at combustion temperatures, building carbon layer by layer, restricting airflow, and degrading performance so gradually the owner never notices until a shop quotes them $600 for a walnut blast. Mechanics install catch cans on day 1. They remove them before dealer visits. 5-minute job. 2 hose clamps, 2 bolts. The dealer sees a stock engine bay. After the visit, the can goes right back on. Every shop truck has one. Every customer truck should. The catch can isn't in the manual, but it's in every mechanic's engine bay. Number 6, disabling AFM or DFM with a range disabler. $240 to $255 depending on application. Plugs into the OBD port. Keeps all 8 cylinders firing all the time. The lifter cycling that causes $3,000 to $5,000 collapse eliminated before it starts. Every mechanic who owns a 5.3 or 6.2 has one installed. Not most of them. Every single one. They don't debate it. They don't wait to see if their engine is the one that fails. They've rebuilt too many bottom ends and replaced too many cams on trucks that were running fine until the lifter collapsed at mile 87,000. The disabler isn't controversial in the shop. It's only controversial at the dealer counter because the repair it prevents is a revenue line the dealer depends on. $270 to prevent $5,000. The disabler isn't a hack. It's the fix GM should have built in. Number 5, running Seafoam or CRCGDI cleaner through the intake every 30,000 miles. Carbon builds up inside every engine. On GM V8s with direct injection, particularly the 6.2 L86 on K2XX, no fuel touches the intake valve faces. Crankcase vapor bakes onto those valves at combustion temperatures and hardens into deposits that restrict airflow, cause misfires, and steal power so gradually you don't realize you've lost 20 horsepower until someone cleans them. The professional fix is walnut blasting. Intake manifold off, crushed shells blasted at the valve faces under compressed air, $300 to $600. The preventive fix, CRCGDI intake valve and turbo cleaner, sprayed into the intake with the engine running at operating temperature. The PEA-based formula dissolves soft carbon before it hardens into the baked-on crust that requires blasting. 1 can, $18 to $22, every 30,000 miles. Here's how to do it. Warm the engine to full operating temperature. Remove the intake tube between the throttle body and the airbox. With the engine idling at about 2,000 RPM, have someone hold the throttle or use a throttle prop. Spray short bursts of CRC directly into the throttle body opening. 2 to 3 seconds on, 5 seconds off. The engine will stumble and smoke. That's normal. It's burning the dissolved carbon. Use half the can. Reconnect the intake tube. Drive hard for 15 minutes to clear the system. Done. GM doesn't recommend it. Dealers say it damages catalytic converters. It doesn't. The volume is too small, and the catalytic converter operating temperatures far exceed the combustion point of the solvent. Every independent shop that works on GDI engines uses it preventively. The ones that don't are the ones charging $600 for the walnut blast. $18 every 30,000 miles or $600 when the carbon wins. The solvent isn't in the schedule, but it's in every mechanic's toolkit. Number 4, installing an external transmission cooler. This isn't engine only, but the transmission is the engine's partner, and when one dies, the other often follows. Metal contamination from a failed torque converter circulates through the cooler lines, through the radiator integrated cooler, and back into the transmission. In severe cases, the contamination reaches the engine's cooling system through the shared radiator. The 8L90 and 10L80 run hotter than the 6L80 by design. More gears, tighter packaging, higher line pressures. Under towing load, factory trans temps climb past 240 easily. Every 20 degrees over 200 cuts, fluid life in half. An auxiliary cooler, Hayden, Derail, Mishimoto, mounts in front of the AC condenser. $85 to $200 for the cooler and lines. Drops operating temps 20 to 40 degrees under load. The fluid lasts longer, the clutch packs last longer, the transmission lasts longer. And the engine never has to deal with contamination from a transmission that cooked itself. The cooler isn't in the brochure, but it's on every mechanic's tow rig. Number 3, cleaning the MAF sensor every 30,000 miles. The mass airflow sensor sits between the air filter and the throttle body. It measures exactly how much air enters the engine so the ECU can calculate the correct fuel delivery. When the sensor element gets coated, oil vapor from the PCV system, fine dust that passes the filter, ambient contamination, it reads low. The ECU delivers less fuel than the engine needs. Power drops, fuel economy drops, idle roughens, and carbon buildup accelerates because the engine is running leaner than designed at partial throttle. GM doesn't list MAF cleaning in any maintenance schedule. There's no interval, no reminder, no oil life monitor equivalent. The sensor slowly drifts, and the owner slowly adapts without ever realizing the truck is down on performance. CRC MAF sensor. Cleaner, $8 to $12. Pull the sensor from the intake tube. 10 to 15 sprays on the hot wire element. Let it dry completely. Reinstall. 10 minutes. The difference in throttle response and idle quality is immediate. Not because you added anything, but because you restored what was there all along. One critical detail. Use only MAF-specific cleaner. Not brake cleaner, not carb cleaner, not throttle body cleaner. Those solvents leave residue on the hot wire element that causes false readings and can permanently damage the sensor. CRC MAF sensor. Cleaner evaporates completely with zero residue. It's the only product that belongs on that element. Every mechanic who diagnoses a rough idle or lazy throttle on a GM V8 starts with the MAF. It's the $8 fix that solves a $100 complaint. The MAF sensor doesn't ask for attention, but it rewards it every time. Number 2, retorquing exhaust manifold bolts at 50,000 miles. The 5.3 and 6.2 are notorious for broken exhaust manifold bolts. Passenger side especially. The heat cycling is more severe because of the proximity to the firewall and reduced airflow. The bolts expand and contract thousands of times. Eventually, one cracks, then another. The manifold leaks exhaust gases that sound exactly like a lifter tick, and owners either ignore it or misdiagnose it as the lifter failure they've been dreading. Once a bolt breaks inside the head, extraction costs $200 to $500. If the manifold warps from the uneven clamping, replacement runs $600 to $1,500 with new bolts and gaskets. Here's how to tell the difference between an exhaust leak tick and a lifter tick. An exhaust manifold leak is loudest when the engine is cold and gets quieter as the metal expands and seals the gap. A lifter tick is quietest when cold and gets louder as oil thins at operating temperature. If your tick fades after 5 minutes of warm-up, exhaust bolt. If it gets worse, lifter. That distinction saves you from panicking about a $5,000 lifter job when the real problem is a $200 bolt extraction. Mechanics check and retorque exhaust manifold bolts at 50,000 miles. GM torque spec. 15 to 20 pound-feet, center bolts first, alternating outward. A calibrated torque wrench and 10 minutes prevents the break that costs hundreds to fix and thousands if it warps the manifold or heat damages the O2 sensors. GM doesn't list retorque in any maintenance schedule. They should. Because by 100,000 miles, most GM V8s have at least one cracked exhaust manifold bolt. The ones that were retorqued at 50, almost none. The tick is a warning. The torque wrench is the answer. And number 1, the trick that ties every entry on this list into a single system. Number 1, the Day 1 engine protocol. Not a single trick, the complete stack. Every entry on this list that matters most. combined into the system that separates a 300,000-mile engine from one that dies at 150. Day 1, before the first highway drive, before the first tow, before anything else. AFM or DFM disabler, $240 to $255. Plugged in, all 8 cylinders firing permanently. The lifter cycling stops and the number 1 failure mode on the engine is neutralized, same day. Catch can installed, $150 to $200. PCV vapor intercepted. Intake valves protected. Carbon buildup prevention starts immediately. First oil change, within 500 miles of purchase on a used truck, regardless of what the previous owner said. Dexos 1 Gen 3 certified full synthetic. Correct weight. Quality filter, Wix, Napa Gold, AC Delco. $50 to $80 total. Interval set at 5,000 miles from this point forward. At 30,000 miles, CRC MAF sensor cleaning. CRC GDI intake cleaner through the throttle body. 8 plus $18. 30 minutes. Repeat every 30,000. At 50,000. Exhaust manifold bolt re-torque. 15 minutes. Cost of a torque wrench if you don't already own one. Total first-year investment, $450 to $560. Annual cost after that, under $200 in oil changes, filters, and cleaning products. Over 5 years, roughly $1,500 total. The failure it prevents, lifter collapse at $3,000 to $5,500. Carbon buildup service at $300 to $600. Exhaust manifold replacement at $600 to $1,500. Transmission damage from overheated fluid at $3,500 to $5,000. Combined avoidable cost, $8,000 to $12,000. $1,500 to prevent $8,000 to $12,000. Every mechanic runs this protocol on their own engine. Not because they read it somewhere, because they've priced the alternative on 100 customer trucks and decided, not mine. $800 the first year to prevent $5,000 in repairs. Every mechanic does it. Most owners don't, yet. 10 tricks, all against the manual. All standard practice in every shop that works on GMV 8s. The difference between a 5.3 that needs an engine at 150,000 and one that runs like new at 300,000 isn't luck. It's the playbook. And now you have it. If you want the modifications that go beyond the engine, watch 5-band GMC modifications that actually work. And for the engines GM hopes you never find out about, watch 3 cheap GMC engines everyone ignores, gold mines. 253s, same year, same miles. Now you know which playbook to follow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.